My name is Arthur. I'm 84 years old. And I want to tell you about something that's impossible to understand until you've lived long enough. About the silence that comes with age. About the clarity that appears when the noise finally fades. When I was 30, there was a constant roar in my head. What do people think of me? Am I earning enough? Did I choose the right career? Do I look ridiculous? Did I say something stupid at yesterday's party? Did they notice my suit was cheaper than my colleagues? This noise kept me awake at night. It drained the energy I could have spent on something real. It kept me in constant tension, as if I were taking an exam that never ends. And then I grew old, and the noise began to fade, not immediately, gradually. First, I stopped worrying about what strangers think, then what acquaintances think, then what colleagues think, and finally what anyone thinks, except for the few people I truly love. Now at 84, there's almost silence in my head. And you know what? This is the best gift that age gives. Let me tell you what exactly became clear when the noise faded. First, other people's opinions don't matter at all. I spent 30 years trying to impress people. Bosses, colleagues, neighbors, distant relatives. I bought things I didn't need to look successful. I worked overtime to get the boss's approval. I agreed to things I didn't want to do so I wouldn't seem bad. And what? Where are those people now? The bosses long retired or dead. The colleagues scattered who knows where. The neighbors moved away. The distant relatives became even more distant. All those people I tried to look better for than I was. They don't even remember my efforts. They were busy with their own worries, their own complexes, their own noise in their heads. And I spent years of my life on a performance that no one was watching. I remember how at 45 I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks because of one comment. My director said at a meeting that my project could have been better. That's it, 4 words. And I spent 2 weeks turning them over in my head, analyzing, hating myself, planning how to prove him wrong. Now I don't even remember what that project was, don't remember that director's name. Don't remember anything except that I spent 2 weeks of my life suffering over 4 words from a person who probably forgot them the same day. What a tragic comedy. Second, perfection is a trap. All my life I tried to be perfect. Perfect employee, perfect husband, perfect father. Every mistake, a tragedy. Every failure, the end of the world. Do you know how many times I failed? Hundreds. Lost my job at 32, thought my life was over. My first business went bankrupt, thought I was a failure forever. My marriage nearly fell apart at 40, thought I was the worst husband in the world. And what? Found another job better than the previous one. Started another business that's still running. Saved the marriage, and the next 40 years were the happiest of my life. Every failure that seemed like a catastrophe was just a turn, not the end of the road, but a change in direction. And I spent so much energy on the fear of failure, on trying to be perfect, on self-flagellation when it didn't work out. Now I know mistakes are not enemies, they're teachers. The best things in my life grew from the most painful failures. Third, titles and things are empty. At 50, I became vice president of the company. Finally, 20 years I'd been working toward this. An office with a window, a secretary, business cards with gold embossing. The first week I was on cloud 9. The second week satisfied, the third already used to it. After a month, as if it had always been this way, the title changed nothing. I remained the same Arthur, with the same fears, the same insecurities. Only now I had an office with a window and more stress. The same with things. The first luxury car, a week of euphoria. The first expensive watch, 2 days of joy. The first $1,000 suit, satisfaction until the first stain. We think that things will make us happy, that a title will change how we feel inside. Lies, complete lies. Happiness doesn't live in things and titles. It lives in moments, in a conversation with a friend, in grandchildren's laughter, in morning coffee on the porch, in the hand of your wife that you've been holding for 60 years. Fourth, career is not life. I worked for 45 years. 45 years of waking up at dawn, going to work, coming home exhausted in the evening, thinking about work on weekends, dreaming about work at night, and then I'm 70, I'm retiring. I come to the office for the last time, pack my things, say goodbye to colleagues, walk out the door. A month passes, no one calls. The company keeps running as if I never existed. All those years, all those projects, all that overtime, and after a month I was forgot. This isn't bad, it's just the truth. Work is a function. You perform it while you can. Then someone else comes along. And I missed so many evenings with my family for work. So many school plays of my children, so many dinners with my wife, so many Sunday mornings, all for work that forgot me a month after I left. If I could go back, I'd leave work on time, turn off the phone on weekends, take the full vacation, not 1 week out of 2, because the company will survive without you. But your children will only grow up once. Fifth, the past cannot be changed and the future cannot be controlled. How many nights did I lie awake thinking about past mistakes? Why did I say that then? Why didn't I do that? Why did I make that decision? How many days did I spend worrying about the future? What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if the kids don't get into college? The past and future stole my present. I was there in regrets about yesterday and fears about tomorrow. And today passed by unnoticed. Now at 84, I've finally learned. The past is lessons, not prison. The future is a mystery, not a threat. And the present is the only thing that truly exists. This morning I drank coffee on the porch. The sun had just risen. Birds were singing. My wife Helen sat next to me in her chair. Nothing special, just a morning. But I was there, fully present, tasted the coffee, heard the birds, saw how the sun played on Helen's hair, felt gratitude for one more day. This is happiness. Not big events, not achievements, not things. Full presence in a simple moment. It took me 80 years to understand this. Sixth, people matter more than anything else. My parents died long ago, many friends too. Helen has been by my side for 60 years. The children grew up, have their own families. The grandchildren are already teenagers. When I look back, the brightest memories are not about work, not about achievements, not about things. They're about people. How Helen and I danced at our wedding. How my daughter first said, "Daddy." How my father and I fished and were silent for hours because words weren't needed. People are all that matters. The connections we create, the love we give and receive, the time we spend together. Everything else is decoration. I would give up all the titles, all the things, all the success for one more day with my father, for one more conversation with my mother, for one more evening with a friend I lost too early. Cherish people while they're around. Call even when there's no reason. Say, "I love you," even when it's obvious. Hug even when it seems inappropriate. Because one day they won't be there. And you would give everything for one more moment. Seventh, simple things are the most valuable. All my life I chased the big house, big car, big success. I thought happiness was there in the big. But it was here in the small, in the smell of fresh coffee, in a child's laughter, in a quiet evening with a book, in a walk through the park without purpose. The happiest moments of my life cost nothing. A picnic with family in the park, a board game with grandchildren, a conversation with Helen before sleep, morning silence when everyone's still asleep. We complicate our lives. We think happiness requires money, effort, achievement, but it's simply here, in simple things we don't notice because we're looking somewhere in the distance. I've finally learned to look at my feet, and they're everything I need. Eighth, letting go is a superpower. Grudges I held for decades, failures I punished myself for, expectations I didn't meet, dreams that didn't come true. I carried all this like stones in a backpack. Over the years, the backpack got heavier. My shoulders hurt, my back bent. And then I started letting go. I forgave those who hurt me, not for them, for myself. Because holding a grudge is like drinking poison and waiting for someone else to die. I forgave myself for mistakes. Didn't forget, but forgave. Because I did the best I could with what I knew then. I let go of dreams that didn't come true, not with sadness, with gratitude for the dreams that did. The backpack got lighter. My shoulders straightened. And for the first time in years, I walked easily. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means making room for the new. For what is, instead of what could have been. Ninth, fear steals more than failure. How many times did I not do something because I was afraid of failing, didn't ask for a raise, didn't ask a girl on a date, didn't start a business, didn't tell the truth? Fear promised to protect me. It said, "Don't risk it, it will hurt." And I listened, sat in safety and watched life pass by. And then I understood failure hurts, but it passes. And what if hurts forever? The things I feared but did anyway are the best things in my life. Marriage, children, business, moving, all of it was scary, and all of it is the most valuable thing I have. The things I feared and didn't do still hurt. The book I didn't write, the conversation I didn't start, the forgiveness I didn't ask for. Fear is a bad advisor. It wants you to sit in a corner where it's safe, but life isn't in the corner. Life is where it's scary. 10th, today is all you have. I'm 84. How much time I have left, I don't know. Maybe a year, maybe 10. Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up for the last time, and you know what? That's okay. Because I want to die, because I'm finally living, truly living today, not waiting for some later. In my youth, I postponed everything. Let's earn more, then we'll live. Let the kids grow up, then we'll rest. Let me retire, then I'll take care of myself. Later is the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Later never comes, there's only now. Eternal, endless now. I'm finally living in it. Today I'll hug Helen, call the kids just because, play with the grandchildren, sit on the porch with coffee. Read a book, watch the sunset. Nothing big, all small, but this is life. Not there in big plans for later, but here in small moments of today. If you're younger than me, and you probably are, hear me. Don't wait until 84 to stop chasing the wind. Don't wait for the noise to fade on its own. Turn it off now. Other people's thoughts, unimportant, perfection, a trap, titles and things, empty mistakes, lessons, fear, a lie, what matters, people, moments, love, presence, everything else is noise, turn off the noise. Live, my name is Arthur, I'm 84 years old. I spent most of my life in noise, worries, fears, chasing, now I have silence. And in that silence, everything I truly need. This morning, coffee, Helen beside me, sun outside the window, enough, more than enough. I want to tell you a few stories. Specific moments when I understood what I'm trying to convey. I was 53. I had just received a big promotion, celebrating with colleagues at an expensive restaurant. Champagne, speeches, applause, I was on top. I come home at 1 in the morning. A little tipsy, very pleased with myself. I enter the house, dark, everyone's asleep. A note from Helen on the table. Matthew waited for you until 9, wanted to show you how he learned to ride a bike. Fell asleep upset. Matthew, my youngest, he was 6 then. I stood in the kitchen with that note and felt something breaking inside. My son waited for me. Wanted to share a victory. For a 6-year-old, learning to ride a bike is like becoming vice president for me. And I was at a restaurant celebrating my adult importance. The next morning I woke up at 6, woke Matthew up, said, "Show me." We went outside, still cold from the night, and he showed me, trembling with pride, pedaling, smiling with all his teeth. I cried, stood on the sidewalk and cried while my son rode in circles around me. That moment with the bike I still remember, every detail, and the promotion, I don't even remember what position it was. Children don't remember your titles, they remember whether you were there. I was 67. My best friend Roy was sick. Lung cancer, stage 4. Doctors said months. I visit him in the hospital. We sit, we're silent. He's thin, yellow, doesn't look like the Roy I knew for 40 years. Suddenly he says, "Art, you know what I regret?" I say, "What?" He says, "That I worried so much about nonsense. So much time spent on fears that never came true, on grudges I no longer remember, on plans that didn't matter. Silence." He says, "You know what I want now? Not money, not more time, not miracle medicine. I want to sit with you fishing one more time, like back in 85. Remember, we didn't catch anything, just sat and chatted. I'd give everything for another day like that." Roy died 6 weeks later, and I still remember that day fishing. Nothing special, just 2 friends, a lake, beer, talking about nothing. The best days are often like that, nothing special, just life. Another story, I was 78. My granddaughter Emily, she was 16, came for the summer. A modern teenager, phone, headphones, social media. We barely communicate, she's in her world, I'm in mine. One evening we're sitting on the porch, she's without her phone because it died. We're silent, and suddenly she asks, "Grandpa, what were you afraid of at my age?" I thought about it, I say, everything. That girls wouldn't like me, that I wouldn't get into college, that my father would be disappointed, that friends would think I'm a failure. She says, "And what happened? Did all that come true?" I say, "Almost none of it, and what did happen wasn't as scary as I imagined." She's silent for a long time, then says, "I'm afraid I'll waste my life on something wrong, that I'll choose the wrong profession, the wrong person, the wrong path." I say, "Emily, I chose wrong hundreds of times, and every wrong choice led me to something right. There is no perfect path. There's your path with turns, dead ends, and surprises, and that's normal." She smiled. For the first time all summer, she smiled at me. We sat on that porch until midnight, talked about everything, her fears, my mistakes, about life. She told me things she hadn't told her parents. I told her things I hadn't told anyone. That evening is one of the most valuable in my life. And it happened by accident because her phone died. Sometimes the best things happen when we turn off the noise. I want to talk about Helen, my wife, 60 years together. People ask, what's the secret to a long marriage? I say, there's no secret. There's a decision. Every day, a decision to stay, a decision to forgive, a decision to see the person, not your expectations of them. Helen and I fought a lot. There were years when I wasn't sure we'd make it to the next anniversary. We hurt each other with words, with silence, with expectation. But we stayed, not because it was easy, because we decided to. Because marriage isn't a feeling that comes and goes. It's a decision you make every day. Now at 84, I look at her and see everything. The 20-year-old girl I fell in love with, the 30-year-old mother who didn't sleep nights with the children, the 50-year-old woman who went through midlife crisis with me, the 70-year-old grandmother who plays with grandchildren. All these Helens in one person, and I love each of them. This, perhaps, is what true love is, not the passion of the first year, not the habit of the 20th, but the decision of the 50th. The decision to see everything and stay. People sometimes ask me, what have you learned in 84 years? I answer, subtract. Life is not addition, it's subtraction. Remove unnecessary worries, remove unneeded things, remove toxic people, remove expectations that aren't yours. The more you remove, the easier it is to breathe. The clearer you see what truly matters. Young people want to add more money, more things, more achievements, and that's normal. That's part of the journey. But with age, you'll understand happiness is in subtraction, in simplification, in less. Fewer things, fewer worries. Fewer obligations, more time. Fewer worries, more peace. Less noise, more clarity. This is a paradox that's hard to understand when you're young, but it's true. Another thought. About time, when you're young, it seems like time is infinite. I'll get to everything. I'll talk later. I'll go later. I'll say it later. And then you look, and 50 years have passed, like one day. Parents you were going to visit next week died. Children you were going to play with this evening grew up. Friends you were going to call tomorrow scattered. Time is the most valuable resource, and the only one you can't earn more of. You lose money, you'll earn it again. You lose a job, you'll find another. You lose time, that's it. No return. So spend time on what matters, on people you love, on things that bring joy. On moments you'll remember. Everything else is wasting the only resource you have. I'm ending where I began, with silence. 84 years, the noise has faded, and in that silence I finally hear what matters. I hear birds singing outside the window. Before I didn't notice, I was busy with the noise in my head. I hear grandchildren's laughter. Before I didn't notice, I was busy with work. I hear Helen breathing beside me. Before I didn't notice, I was busy with plans for tomorrow. I hear life, simple, ordinary, beautiful life. It was always here, I just wasn't listening. Now I listen every day, every moment, and I'm grateful for each of them. My name is Arthur, I'm 84 years old, and I'm finally living, truly living, for the first time in 84 years. Thank you for listening, and now turn off this video, go outside, look at the sky, call someone you love, live, now, because later is a lie. There's only now, and it's beautiful. One last thing I want to share. Last month I had a birthday, 84. The children came, the grandchildren. A house full of people, noise, laughter. In the middle of the party, I went out to the porch, just to stand to breathe. Helen came out after me, stood beside me, took my hand. We're silent, looking at the stars. She says, Art, are you happy? I think, really think, not an automatic answer, a real one. I say, yes, happy, not because everything is perfect, because I finally stopped waiting for perfect. She smiles, she knows what I mean. I say, you know how many years I thought, when this and that happens, then I'll be happy. And I never was. Because something was always missing. Something was always wrong. She says, and now? I say, now a lot is missing. Health isn't what it was. Strength isn't what it was. Not much time left, but I'm happy because I stopped counting what's missing, started noticing what's here. She squeezes my hand. We stand and look at the stars. A grandson runs out onto the porch. Grandpa, Grandma, come. Cake. We return to the house full of people we love. 84 candles on the cake. Everyone sings. I blow them out. Emily asks, what did you wish for? I say, nothing. Everything I wanted is already here. She doesn't understand. Someday she will, when the noise fades for her too. Here's what I want you to understand. Happiness isn't getting what you want. Happiness is wanting what you have. So simple, so difficult. All our lives we chase something. More money, a better job, a bigger house, a newer car. We get it and want more. An endless race after a carrot that's always one step ahead. But you can stop. Look around, see what's already there. And say, enough. This is enough. I am enough, not resignation, not giving up on dreams, just recognition. What's here now is already valuable, already worth gratitude, already happiness. I'm 84. I chased the carrot most of my life. Now I've stopped looking around, and I see everything I need is here, always was here, I just wasn't looking. Now I look, and every day is a gift. Every coffee is a celebration. Every conversation is a treasure. Every moment is unique and unrepeatable. Here it is, happiness. Not there someday if, but here, now, in what is. Just open your eyes, just stop running, just be. That's enough. You are enough. You always were. My name is Arthur. I'm 84 years old, and I'm grateful for every one of them, for every mistake that taught me, for every fear I overcame, for every person I love, for every moment I remember, for everything. Thank you, life. Thank you for listening. And now go live. Time doesn't wait, but it's worth living, truly, starting from this moment. Goodbye and be happy, not later. Now, P.S. Helen said, Art, you forgot to tell about your mistakes. People need to know you're not perfect either. She's right, as always. So here are my mistakes. I was a bad listener. For many years, I waited for others to finish talking so I could say my piece. I didn't listen. I endured. I regret all the conversations I wasn't truly present in. I was stubborn. Too often I thought I was right. Too rarely I said, you're right, sorry, I was wrong. I was an absent father, not physically, emotionally. I was home but wasn't present, played with the kids but thought about work. I regret every minute when my body was with them but my head was somewhere else. I was too proud, didn't ask for help when I needed it, didn't admit weakness, didn't show vulnerability, wore a mask of a strong man and lost chances for real closeness. I postponed what mattered. I'll talk to Dad later. I'll call my friend later. I'll spend time with family later. Later robbed me of years of real life. These mistakes are part of my journey. I don't boast about them. I'm not ashamed of them. I simply admit I was imperfect. I'm imperfect, will be imperfect, and that's normal. You too will make mistakes, many mistakes. You'll regret, feel ashamed, suffer. That's part of life, but mistakes are not a sentence. They're lessons. Each of them made me who I am. Each taught me something I couldn't have learned otherwise. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Be afraid of not learning from mistakes. Be afraid of repeating them again and again. Be afraid of not asking for forgiveness when you've wronged someone, but the fact of the mistake itself isn't scary. It's just life, just learning, just humanity. We're all imperfect, and that's the beauty. In the fact that we can fall and get up, make mistakes and correct them, hurt and ask for forgiveness, hide and open up. In the fact that there's always tomorrow to be better. While it's there, my name is Arthur. I'm 84 years old. I've made thousands of mistakes, and I'm grateful for each one, because they made me who today sits on the porch with Helen, drinks coffee, and watches the sunrise. Happy, finally. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for listening to the end. I hope you'll draw the right conclusions and take something important from this video for yourself. Goodbye.